that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day folks, how are you? Hope you've had a great day. I've got to say, mine started out reasonably poorly. I had to hit the road this morning. I was going to make a bit of a surprise appearance somewhere, and it didn't quite work out the way I'd planned, mainly because there was a very large accident on the Bruce Highway, which was a pain in the bum. They blocked it completely. It wasn't an accident that appeared to have too many vehicles involved by the time I got to it. An hour and a half to travel 25 kilometres. It was an horrendous snarl going north, and I had to draw on all my old limo driver skills just to stay calm, ring people, have a chat. Nothing you can do about it. And every rat run that you were pointed to, or that I took at least, well, you might have gained a minute or two here, a minute or two there. But anyway, it meant that I couldn't visit someone that I was hoping to catch up with today, because I had to catch up with some other people. Had a lovely lunch, and I don't know if I didn't ask whether or not I was allowed to say, but I'm going to, and I'll get in trouble if I don't. But I had lunch with Sunflower and Rick today at the Budrum Ginger Factory, well, the Yandina Ginger Factory. But it was a magnificent lunch. I'd never been to the Ginger Factory before. I can't commend it to you enough, folks. If you are coming to the Sunshine Coast for a holiday, or you just happen to be driving past, it's just off the highway. And I don't know, over the years, I've probably spent, well, over 5 years living on the Sunshine Coast, and then I don't know how many others floating around it. Never went to the Ginger Factory. Don't know why. Absolutely stupid of me. But please, avail yourself of it. Beautiful meal, lovely meal, beautiful surroundings, lots of things for the kids and the kids at heart. There's a water area. There's a train that goes on a tour through the whole Ginger Factory. I didn't do it, but I am going back to do it. It was really, really cool. And then as we were leaving, there was this fellow who sort of walked in to go and buy something from the shop, and then he sort of gave me a bit of a look and nodded his head, and I smiled and nodded mine, so I said, hey. And on the way back out, he sort of stopped and looked at me. He said, are you Carl? And I said, yeah, I'm Carl. Came over and said, oh. So I caught up with Nolan and Eleanor as well. And it was a great pleasure. I mean, I always get amazed when somebody recognizes me, but it was a great pleasure to meet both of you today. And I've got to say, you made my day. And clearly, given the text that I got from you, you guys were a bit chuffed as well. So I'm glad I put a smile on your face for the day too. That was great. And catching up with Sunflower and Rick, it was lovely. Got to spend a bit more time with them than originally was planned, because I had another appointment, which would have been an interview I was going to record with somebody, but at the last moment, and because of this traffic snarl, that, you know, a drive that should ordinarily have taken me a couple of hours, a little over a couple of hours maybe, today took over 3.5. Well, 3. I suppose I had to stop briefly on the way up, so probably close to 3.5. And like I say, all my driver skills. But thank you very much for the lovely reception from you, Nolan and Eleanor. It was bloody great. And thank you for lunch, Sunflower and Rick. Had a great time. They are truly wonderful people, and I know they're very special in the family here. Spazza, you were first in the house tonight, and only beaten by 6 minutes, it looks now, by Rachel. She came in second. G'day, Paul, Wapta, and the associated other crew. I would go through, but I have a man waiting to talk tonight, and given the conversation that you may or may not be aware of, I think it's going to be a very important conversation, because the subject matter is extremely important. And it's all about some legislation that was essentially rammed through the Senate again yesterday by the Australian Labor government and their cohorts in that place. Would you please welcome back to the Voice of Freedom a man who we love to see from Billboard Battalion, Farmer Wade. How are you, my good friend?
G'day, Carl. How you going there, mate? And big g'day to everybody who's watching.
Congratulations on your efforts this week. I'm not sure how many people have been following what you've been doing for this week and the last 2 weeks, really. You've been in Canberra and Senate estimates have been going on. You've gone with some very specific reasoning and some very specific goals to attain. And one of those was to certainly make sure that everybody who got the chance to vote yesterday on the legislation that would introduce a CDC into Australia got all the information required. Unfortunately, that vote was shut down by the Labor Party. The Senate was gagged. Must have been a bit of a disappointment, I guess, but the fight goes on.
Absolutely, and like I say, Carl, all the time, mate. We will never go weak at the knees. We won't fall down. We're here for the long haul. We're here to do whatever we can to try and win this for the survival of Australia and for the survival of all our families, our kids, grandkids, and everything else. And for that matter, this is a global war in which we're in. So we've been, as you know, we've been here in Canberra now for a few times where both houses are sitting together, and they generally do that for 2 weeks, to get into the parliament, get in amongst the politicians, get in amongst what's happening here, to do interviews, to report back to people, to put pressure on politicians, to try and do what the mainstream media should do. You know what I'm saying? We saw one of the big ticket items, and for people who are aware, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations and the World Health Organization, they intend to do us catastrophic harm. And this 2 bills, which you can see here, number one, and these are our handwritten charts that we haven't got enough money to do all the professional stuff, mate. So we just do what we can with sticky paper and texters and whatever. So
it works well. Paper works great.
Well, this represents the bill which they are trying to get over the line for the Centre for Disease Control. Now, they have got that over the line now. And then the other one, of course, if you can see behind me here, is the National Environmental Protection Agency. They call it the Environmental Protection Agency. So that's supposed to replace the old EPBC Act.
Right.
Which is the Environmental Protection and the Bio
Security Act.
Protection Act. So these 2 things here, in combination with what we've got here is the Biosecurity Act. These things are critical to the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization being able to take down Australia. And that's what these things are about. So we saw the lower house, the Centre for Disease Control, was passed back in September, and then it came to the Senate. So we've been in the Senate every day. We're keeping an eye on things. We're keeping up to speed with what's happening. We're reporting back. So they put this into the Senate yesterday. They brought it up. It was on the schedule. So they brought it up, and there were quite a number of politicians who wanted to speak to it, right? They wanted to have their part in the debate. And then what would happen, of course, is when all that's done, then they'd put it to a vote. And for people who haven't seen the Senate yet, they'll say, right, ring the bells. We're going to have a vote. And if you want to vote yes, you go to one side of the chair, of the president. And if you want to vote no, you go to the other side, and then you sit in those seats, physically sit there, and then they count those people.
Yep.
So what happened was the government, because it has the majority of seats with the combination of the Greens, decided to shut down any other politicians being able to speak to this bill. They couldn't bring in their speech. They couldn't put up information about it, nothing. So, and that's because the Labor Party and the Greens combined, they are anti-democracy. They do not want the representative of people in the parliament to be able to speak on behalf of the people. So that tells you what they're about in the first place. They shut down everything because they've got the numbers. There's no discussion. There's no debate. And then so what they do is then what they call guillotine this stuff through. And they put that to a vote with no capacity to debate on it. And in many cases, if you look at late last year, Carl, they guillotined through Parliament, I think it was over 20 bills.
Yes. And that was in the lead up to Christmas last year. Exactly.
The last sitting days of Parliament for 2024. So this is the same thing as what they did with this bill here. That one there. And I think that one of the problems that they are facing is that we were pushing so hard and we were putting up videos about this stuff and calling it out for what it was. And we were getting good traction with the Australian people going, hang on, what the hell is this? I've never heard of it. So they've rushed the whole thing through Parliament. There were a number of politicians who did not get a chance to speak. And because they had the numbers, they got it over the line. So that's how it worked. And I was...
staggered, I imagine.
Oh, mate, because... I realise, and speaking to some of these politician, staffers around the place and different bureaucrats and people we ran into just in the Parliament who are there to see how it works. We were getting a lot of people who were going, what the hell is this thing? What do you mean you're saying it's so bad? What's going on? How come they're trying to do this? Well, as we can see over here, we've got the World Economic Forum, and over here we've got the WHO, which is the weaponized part of the World Economic Forum, and they need this bill turned into legislation so that they can create like a super swamp. So therefore, the WHO, the World Health Organization, which has now been, the Labor Party signed us up to that back in July to one of their, two of their international treaties. So now, if the WHO declares some kind of a pandemic or some kind of a emergency, or in what people call pandemic preparedness, they take control of our country, quite literally. And this Centre for Disease Control is one of the hubs that they're creating, that they can control the entire country, overrun state law, anything they want. And that there is your new constitution. That in combination with this and that is your new constitution. And I'm telling you right now, the Constitution 1901 or whatever they talk about, that's over. That's finished. It's dead. So they need to create this stuff here so they can issue orders to any part of Australia completely about anything that's happening in our country at all. And a part of this
broader than that, though, isn't it, too? Because that'll be associated with a world organisation, with the one world order, so to speak.
Exactly right. And this is one of the reasons, Carl, why we're seeing CDCs popping up in all sorts of different countries, because that is what the WHO needs to take control of the country. That's what these Centre for Disease Controls are. and that then is controlled. This is the nuts and bolts of your one world government. So for people who say there's no such thing as a one world government, no such thing as a new world order, all that sort of stuff, well, I'm here to tell you, there it is right there. This is what it's about.
I'm surprised that, well, I'm not surprised the government are doing this, but I'm surprised that given the senators meant to have an overseeing role, I'm surprised that debate can be stopped by the numbers in the Senate, because it overrides the Senate's entire reason to exist. Yeah. And while I understand if you win more votes in the House, you get to push your stuff through, I don't think that should be allowed in any way, shape or form to gag the debate. Do you think if there is a need for change in the House or houses, then that is it? One of them? There are quite a few I'd like to put to you tonight, but do you think that's one of them?
That would absolutely, in my opinion, if I got to rewrite some of the rules of the Senate, there would be no ability for anybody to shut down debate or the words put forward by representatives of the people, because as you rightly said, and I've spoken about this in a lot of the lives I've done, the Senate is supposed to be the house of review, the house that makes sure that things that come through are safe and honest and up to speed and in the best interest of the people. Well, the Senate now is owned by the corporates, the corporations. They own it, and I call the Senate the cesspit of death, the Senate of death, whatever you want to call it. They are now lost, and it is. And Carl, this is why we and you do what you do, because we need to make sure that the people take back the power of government. This is the bottom line, because as we've just seen, we could be stuffed. It could be all over now. It could be just a case of they come and round you up and shoot you or inject you or kill you or whatever. It could be too late now. But we have to fight back.
For a variety of reasons, Wade, you have, let's say, better access to the politicians than I do. How do you think Malcolm Roberts and Senator Antic, for instance, will be feeling today, and maybe Pauline as well? Doesn't it? I mean, they've just got to feel like they've been neutered.
I know that Malcolm Roberts and Sean Bell and Tyrone Whitten, they're dirty. They're as dirty as anything, because they didn't even get an opportunity to put forward what they wanted to say on behalf of the state of Queensland or the state of New South Wales, where Sean Bell's the rep there. Malcolm Roberts, he speaks for Queenslanders, and Tyrone Whitten speaks for Western Australia. So there's 3 states in Australia with millions and millions of people who the Labor Party shut down, and they did not get a voice. 3 states in Australia. So this is a shocker. And yes, I can tell you right now, they're filthy about this.
But what can they do about it?
Well, at this point, what they can do is work with us.
Yeah.
Because we're the people. We are the actual states that make up the Commonwealth. We are 27 million people. And if we move together and Carl, as
with
you know,
purpose,
mate,
not with violence, with purpose.
Well, with purpose and within the system. We've got the capacity to use the system the way it's supposed to be used. And these are the filth bags in the parliament. I mean, not all of them, obviously, but the vast majority.
Yep.
They have only been able to corrupt this parliament and bring around these shocking laws and these international treaties with terrorists because we, the people, have not stopped them. We have not used our power. And one of the major problems that we have in that is we've got so many people who have set themselves up as, I don't know, de facto leaders or whatever the hell they are, and they deliberately divide everybody. They will not work together. They particularly will not work with me, with Billboard Battalion. And this is why we're losing, you know. And what I talk about is people working together, as in we the people, and based on what are the facts, what is the situation, what do we need to do to kill it, what do we need to do to save our own lives, and get these politicians back into a spot where they're under control. They're not running rogue for foreign terrorist organisations, and that is the situation right now, and more so than ever. The Australian people now in a rearguard action, a counter-offensive, need to come together, or you kiss your backside goodbye. It is done.
There'll be people who say, even if this legislation, it has passed, so it's going to come into law at some point, and they've built a brand new shiny CDC centre in Melbourne, some people are going to say it doesn't matter. Our constitution protects us from this kind of interference, you know, in a national level. What would you say about that?
So first of all, about this new shiny thing in Melbourne, we've got this half-wit here in Canberra, a bloke called David Pocock, right? Now he's an independent member for Canberra in the Senate. Absolute imbecile. And he's not only opposing this, he's going, oh, we want this in Canberra. And he came up with a thing yesterday. He said, oh, you know, my staff and I put this together. It's a sign that says ACDC, Australian Centre for Disease Control. He's trying to pinch Akadaka's, you know, thing for the. I mean, the bloke's, he's an absolute moron. So to get to to get to that sort of point where they're going to put this thing, or where they want to put it, is irrelevant. It's how dangerous it is, Carl.
Well, I know through listening to a lot of Senate estimates recently that in Geelong at the moment, they are testing every, call it class A or whatever, you know, most extreme class of virus or agent in the world. Ebola, you know, all the fevers, and they're in Geelong in Victoria. Now, I have no doubt that, you know, the place is very well protected and there's great security around it, yada, 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 yada. But I also would point out that there was a facility like that in America, and they were testing, as they are at this facility in Geelong, on animals, and some of those chimps escaped. You remember that? They ran out of the testing centre and they had to be chased down the streets of some US city. So these animals can escape, and it has happened in Victoria previously. I'll go and look it up, but I do remember that it did happen some time ago. So it's already here. It's already happening. Why do we need to be testing things like Ebola? It's never been here in this country. We know what it looks like. Countries being flooded with people coming from countries that do have Ebola in it at the moment. Are they being tested on the way through?
Well, look, here's the thing. For people who've been following what's been happening over the last 5 years, they created the COVID-19 virus, and it's not as dangerous as what they said it was. But they created it in, they were working on that for a start in America. And then the Yanks said, look, you've got to take this crap and shut it down because it's too dangerous. Now, that was what they said. And Fauci, combined with a few others, smuggled it into China. And so they continued with the work there with the Wuhan laboratory on virology, and then they released it. Now, that was a deliberate release of that stuff to cause the COVID-19, which then caused the Great Reset, blah, 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 and put us where we are right now. So they're telling us that they have, they're telling us that, we're going to have the next virus. Now, what that looks like, I'm not sure, but this is one of the things that Malcolm Roberts got across in the Senate yesterday in a roundabout sort of ways about the Ebola that's being tested on in Geelong and the gain of function research they're doing. So there is a very big chance that the Ebola that they're working on, they're going to claim there was some kind of security breach, some kind of accident, some sort of spillage. That is a very, very real scenario they could unfold. And now here's the thing to keep in mind, right? So here, the Centre for Disease Control, in conjunction with the Biosecurity Act, which they amended in 2015. So they've been setting this up for the last 10 years with this stuff. So this Centre for Disease Control also is combined with what they call the One Health Policy. Now, the WHO also has a branch called the World Organization for Animal Health. And what we're hearing, and these people pushing this, and there's some of these scumbag Labor and Labor lower house and upper house people are saying, so much of the disease comes from animals. So they're setting up the wording now to use these sort of things, this sort of thing, and this stuff over here to say, this thing's come from animals, so we've got to start destroying animals. And this is a part of their plan. They want to wipe out farm animals, your pets, your horses, your dogs, your cats, your bird, everything. These people are they're sociopaths, and this stuff here is giving them the power to wipe out every animal that you have.
We're seeing evidence of just what you've said there, historically with things like bird flu. How many chooks died in the last few years because of bird flu that wasn't anywhere near them? But, all the chickens have to die. Why? Because, eggs. Eggs were offering certain levels of protection to people. So let's make eggs more expensive. Let's make them harder to find, harder to get. And then, it goes a little bit further. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. We do have someone who is pushing back quite hard tonight and calling himself Gill. If it is indeed Dr. Gill from last night, hang around. I'll get to you at the end. But he's raising some questions. He's concerned that you are espousing violence in what you are saying. Do you feel that you're putting violent rhetoric forward?
He's a whack job, mate. If he's saying that I'm that, he's a whack job. So let me tell you about the violence, you imbecile. The violence is what we saw in Melbourne a few years ago, and a PhD in sociology. So half of the lunatics that cause this problem are PhDs in something. Yes. So you want to know about, and listen, Gil, old mate, whatever the hell your name is, come on, Billboard Battalion, mate. Gil, no, sorry, Dr. Gil. You know how many nutcases call themselves Dr. something? Half of the crackpots in the parliament are Dr. something, mate. So I'm and for those who can't see comments, I'm responding to comments.
That's all right.
And I can tell you something now, Dr. Gill. I know real doctors, medical professors, people who are the real deal. And they have told us exactly what is going on with COVID, with the injections, how the injections are made, the mRNA poisons that are in them, all the stuff that's there, and that they are designed solely to kill people. They're not designed to help at all. There's no health benefits whatsoever. There is only, at the very best, not much reaction for a while. Then you step into the people who have been maimed and injured. And then you step into the next stage, which is people who have got the COVID-19 vaccine. It's actually a poison, are dead. They have been murdered. And many of them are on the way to dying because they've given them strokes, heart attacks, artificial, mates, Dr. Gill, artificial plastic kind of blood clots, big, long things this big, mate. So, and they've got huge amounts of cancer. You know, you might talk to some of the real doctors, old mate, the ones who say they're oncologists with 40 years experience and they've never, ever seen explosions of turbo cancer like they've seen since the injections were rolled out. So I'm quite happy to have you on, mate. I'll just bring up
Dr. Gill's bio here so that you can get a bit of an idea of who you're speaking to. Although that's, actually, I think I brought up the wrong one. Hang on, give me 1 second. I'll get the right one. I'll shut that one down.
Well, I'll just say while you're doing that, Carl, you brought up something about Deakin University. Now, if you want to know something about a bunch of whack job lunatic nutters, Deakin University will be a very good place to look.
Yeah, I grew up very close to Deakin University down in Western Victoria. Previously, the good doctor has been involved in a number of research and advisory projects as a consultant. He was part of a small team providing advice to the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner on the implementation of the Online Safety Act 2021 and worked as a researcher on countering violent extremism programs for the Department of Home Affairs during the height of the Islamic State activities. Currently, he's looking into extremists like, well, maybe you, as he's accusing you of saying violent things, and me. Or he was a couple of years ago. And if you missed last night's show, go back and watch it. Before I go much further, I will say, because I don't really want to particularly address the good doctor here and now, I want to talk about what you're in Canberra for. But I will say to the good doctor, if indeed it is you, I did send you an email yesterday. I want to apologise for the tone of that email. I was a smart ass, and that wasn't my intention, but you caught me on a bad day, and I apologise for the tone of that email, but at least it got you to pop in the show here and have a look tonight. The offer to come on this program, and Wade has made it, to go on Billboard Battalion with him, stands. The things that you've said in your insight, which is now coming up nearly 3 years old, in hindsight, nothing much has changed, as I've said last night. But what seriously hasn't changed is people on your side of the fence not doing the research into what people on our side of the fence have done. And your counter arguments, ones we have deeply looked into and found to be flawed in many different ways, mainly because it's coming from controlled areas, we may never find common ground, but that doesn't mean we can't have a civil, decent conversation. And there's no terrorism involved here, no extremism. I'm not inciting anybody to go out and do anything, and well, not yet anyway. And all we are trying to do is excite people into learning more of the truth. And it's encouraging when people like you start writing articles like you do about us, because it gives us an indication that there is a chink in the armor. And we found it, and we're digging. And if we haven't found the right chink, we'll find another one, and we'll keep digging. That's why people like Wade and myself and the others that you've quoted, well, we're not going to stop. It doesn't stop until the bullshit on the other side stops, when the government stops raping the people of this country, having total disregard for the will and the lives of the people in this country. When the government puts the people of this country first, rather than going and spending $1 billion on a climate criers conference in Adelaide next year, so that they can invite, fly in, pay for accommodation and food for God knows how many thousands of climate crying delegates all over the world, so Anthony Albanese can strut around on stage and say, look what I'm doing to save the climate. You think the Australian people would support that? maybe the next article or whatever you call it, insight you write, could be from our perspective. If you can put your cognitive dissonance and bias to one side. As I said in my email, as rude as it may have seemed at the time, certain parts of it, I'm very open to have my mind changed, but I've done nothing but research into the whole other side for the last 5 years. I didn't go to university and listen to a professor tell me what I needed to know to gain my PhD. I am speaking of research of lived experience, not rote learning, which is what university is, where programming is completed, in my view. Now, if you can change my view, I might be less inclined to say people who cling to university and cling to things like the veracity of the coronavirus. I might be inclined to believe that, my analogy about the IQ test might be a bit hard. But the reality of it is, that is the reality. You failed the IQ test. It's not a go at how intelligent you are. It's more an example of how closed off your mind has become because of the programming you've received. People like me didn't go to university. People like me didn't finish high school. Okay, I'm never going to be a millionaire. I'm okay with that. I'm very happy with what I do and have done for the last 40 years, which is communicate with people, talk to people, listen to different sides. And yes, at times, been far too vocal about my own. So the offer is open for me and from Wade now, and I'm sure there'll be any number of others who would love to have you on to hear your side and why you feel we are such a danger to the future of Australia, why we would be mentioned in dispatches, if you like, in amongst the security and intelligence services of this country. And you're a bloke who advises them. So, and I'll flip the coin. I would love to come to your symposium, only to sit and listen and learn, not for any devious purpose or anything else. It is an area that we are, as a group, very interested in. But your symposium, for obvious reasons, doesn't list where it would be. And yes, I did say I'd love to get Bosie and Guru and the Pirate, and we'd all turn up the front door and shake all your hands as you walked in. But that's being facetious. I'm genuinely concerned about the security of this country, as it seems you are. And you should understand that the security threat to this country, while there may be some from inside the country, isn't coming from this bloke or this bloke. All right? What we do have is the ability to ask or to trigger inquiring minds to do their own research, not listen to what the professor taught them. Anyway, I'll get off that now because I really didn't want to talk about that and break up what we were talking about with you, Wade, and in Canberra, because it's very important. Now, let's just go back to the vote for a minute on this whole CDC thing that was shut down. When the vote occurred, not all the senators were in the Senate.
So look, and I'm not sure who this Gill bloke is, right? But I'll just say this: people were denied access to drugs that would kill COVID, and doctors around the world prove that. So they were murdered. And if we have a look here, I'll just have a bit of a look here, Carl, for the benefit of old mate
Dr. Gill
here. Oh, Gillo. I want you to look here, right? This is the World Economic Forum, Gillo. And it says here, the bloke who runs it said, you will own nothing. Now, I think that's pretty aggressive, mate. And then down here, this is a quote from Yuval Noah Harari, one of the main advisors in the World Economic Forum. And he says, quote, there is no such thing as human rights, Gillo. That's a direct quote from these people here who are running the World Health Organization, the ones that want this CDC, which undoubtedly you would support. Now, another
written a paper
little
on it.
tricky thing. It says here that this is the World Economic Forum and they're scum, low-life parasites who go in it, of which many in our governments here in Australia are a part of this, mate. It says here, having access to water is not a human right. World Economic Forum. Now, I would invite old Gillo, mate, you come and talk to me about this stuff. Instead of sitting there from behind, being some sort of keyboard coward, you come out and you explain. You come on Billboard Battalion. We'll be really, really nice and polite, nice cuppa and everything like that. And you explain to the people of Australia about whether you support these things here where there is no such thing as human rights and a human does not have any right to water, mate. Those quotes, I can show you them. No problem at all. They're from the World Economic Forum. So before you get on your little trumped up soapbox and whatever hell you're going on with, you tell us what you think about this. You want to know about aggressive. And you want to know about, there was a bloke in Sudan, right? Okay, so what? Wade, you seem to go to personal abuse pretty quickly. Actually, you're the one who went to personal abuse. If I remember correctly, you made some sort of a connotation that I was inciting violence or using some kind of violence, right? So, but what you just did then, right? You just avoided this, okay? This is the question, mate. Not whether people are personal or whatever, okay? Come on, Billboard Battalion, and you explain to the people of Australia how your university supports this. There is no such thing as human rights. Let's see what you've got, mate. Let's see what you got.
You understand we're on a hiding. You understand we're on a hiding to nothing, though. If this is the Dr. Jared Gill, then he hasn't reached the position he has reached within the area of regard he works in by being of an open mind. He's been very focused on, very definite things. And I'm not sure. He may have served in the military prior to being what he is now. I don't know if that's the case. Thank you for your service. But he's obviously led a vastly different life to you and I, and he's an academic. And academics are impossible to sway in an opinion. They will always have an argument. They will always have an excuse. They'll always drag up a scientific paper or something from somewhere. And what I'm learning about those papers is that they're written by people who've never gone out and really done much except, and I don't mean to be dismissive of this guy in particular, but a lot of these people have not had lived experience in all of this. They have textbook experience and they have learned experience from education. Not any real practical. It's like being in the Labor Party. You've got no practical experience at running a business because you've never run a business. Nobody in the Labor Party has ever run a business. And now we've got them running the country. God help us.
I'm not sure if anyone in the Labor Party has run a business or not, but I know one thing. They're running our country into a disaster. Whether they've been in business or not is irrelevant. They are running our country deliberately into a disaster. And I hear a lot of these Labor Party politicians get up and make speeches in Parliament, and they are the biggest brain-dead, imbecilic half-wits. You wouldn't let them run a one-chicken chook farm, mate, because they are disgusting, they're pathetic, and they're brain-dead. And they could not hold an argument. The only way they hold an argument is no one else is in the argument. So I want to touch quickly. You talked about eggs before. So now, where I interviewed a woman from Canada just the other day, and her name's Katie Pasitny, and they have a farm in Canada which has ostriches. 400 odd ostriches. Now, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is another World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, Nazi outfit, shut them down because their ostriches, about a year or so ago, roughly, got a few of them got bird flu, H5N1, avian bird flu. A few of them died, and now a huge number of them got it and then got over it. So for old Dr. whatever his face is, and anybody knows anything, they develop antibodies. Now, Katie was working with scientists because the eggs of these ostriches, they are saying carry antibodies to H5N1. So they have the capacity to wipe out H5N1.
Bloody hell.
And so the Canadian government, under the control of the World Health Organization and this other crowd here, they've sent in the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in combination with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, bunch of I can't tell you what they are. Don't start me on that. But they are a law unto themselves because the Canadian government wants Canada destroyed, and they are saying they need to kill all these birds because they've had this thing. Now, this is a World Health Organization thing. Kill everything. Just find an excuse. That's why our biosecurity stuff whatever the hell's gone, that's been amended so that they can artificially and deceitfully say there's some disease in your stock or your pets and then kill them. That's their objective. Wipe out all the animals. This is their objective. So this stuff that's happening in Canada is happening in real time. It's live time. We interviewed Katie just a few days ago, and we'll keep up to speed with what's happening there. Understand this is very, very real. And when you get people who carry on about, I'm aggressive and that, I'm sorry, I look at the possibility of hundreds of millions or billions of people, humans on our planet, who are being set up to be deliberately murdered in a global genocide. Yeah, well, I sort of take that a little bit personally. Okay? So that's what's happening now. This vote we were talking about, Carl. The people who voted in favour, what's that, mate?
The Senate holds 76 votes, doesn't it?
Yes. So there was 34 voted for the Centre for Disease Control to become law. 22 voted against it. So there was 20 other senators that weren't there.
Missing in action.
MIA.
Yeah.
Yes, they weren't there. Here's a vote on the most important and dangerous thing that they can do to Australia, and 20 out of 76 senators were not in the whole joint. So
I'd be surprised if any of the Labor ones weren't there.
Well, what I think happens is they do a stitch up before you even go in, and they work out who's going to do what. And I need to get this information a bit more fine-tuned, which we're working on, to bring the people the idea of what politicians who didn't vote actually wanted certain amendments done and didn't get them. What the hell's going on? Because as we know, the four major parties, they're under the control of the one world terrorist organisation.
Yep.
They are influenced so heavily. They're pressured and lobbied. They have people in universities who indoctrinate them with extremist views. So they're hooked on the woke side or whatever, which has been created over the last 80 years or whatever. in our educational facilities.
Yeah.
So, this is where we need to be, and we need to say, right, this is where the Australian people need to get on their bike. They need to get in this battle, because I did a live about this yesterday, Carl.
Yeah.
And this thing's it's gone nuts. It's had, I don't know, something like 90,000 views and about 3,000 shares in a day. So now we're seeing that people are very, very serious about what's happened. And sadly, it's taken to this for an absolute crisis to happen before people are starting to lift their head and go, hang on, what just happened? Tell me about this. I haven't heard about this. So we are so grateful for the Australians now, and also the people internationally who are coming on board and going, what the hell just happened? And we need to get these people in this battle. And we need all of the factions, if you like, the freedom movement factions, the agricultural sector factions, the union factions, the people, the factions within the universities, the education system, and the media. We need to get everybody to understand how dangerous what just happened. And we need to be prepared to fight back using the system. And I believe it can be done. But we need people power. That's the last weapon we have, is people power.
Yes.
And these politicians are only people. So we can influence them, because they've got, I think there's about 2,000 registered lobbyists in Canberra who are constantly putting pressure on these politicians, or blackmailing them, or buying them off, or giving them huge heaps of money. Or, it's amazing. You see a politician comes in that gets, 250, 300 grand a year, and within a very short period of time, they've got portfolios worth millions or tens of millions. So we, the people, need to take control of this, or it's over. Sayonara. Your family, they're dead. Simple as that.
Yeah. So how long do you intend on staying in Canberra? It must be nearing the end where the politicians want to be there, so I dare say you'll leave when they do.
Well, I think the politicians, after the last couple of days and the hell we've given them, I think they're more than happy to have left now. But the sad thing for them is we'll be back, and we'll be bringing a whole hell of a lot of Australians with us.
My word.
So we've been here for 2 weeks, Carl. We've got more work to do tomorrow. We've got more meetings happening Friday. Parliament's now risen. It's over. Everyone's gone home. But we've got stuff here to do tomorrow. We'll probably do some more stuff on Saturday on the way home. So that's our...
Well, you never know. Dr. Gill might reside in Canberra. He got his PhD, wasn't it, at Curtin University? So isn't Curtin in Canberra? Well, that may be a suburb. Maybe it's not where the university is. I don't know. I only know ANU, and I only know that because of the bastardization and other things that go on through that little organisation. And guess who runs it these days? Bill Shorten. Well, he's a vice dean or whatever he is. So anyway, that's a story for another night. Wade, how can people find Billboard Battalion and support you?
So we're on Billboard Battalion on Facebook. We're on the www.billboardbattalion.com. We're on Twitter or X. We're on all the major socials, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. You'll find us on nearly all of them. We throw it around as much as we can. We're on TikTok. So we do as much as we can. If people do go to our page, they'll find if they think that what we're doing, our work is valuable in saving their lives and their families' lives. We're always desperately in need of funding to help us to keep this up, because I'll tell you something right now, Carl. Of all the huge number of people who are on social media and the groups and organisations, or the ones who are making out they're some kind of leaders, or they've got the platforms, which more importantly, they have a platform. Do you know how many other people are in Parliament House with us, and how many people are here in Canberra doing the lives from here about this stuff, Carl? Do you know how many other people that we see there?
I would guess none.
Not one.
Yeah.
So we've got all these big noises, big names, and big platforms, and all the rest of it, who talk all their stuff, but there's no one else is here doing what we're doing. Not one.
Yep. 100%. We need more support. And, mate, as soon as I get my bus issue fixed, I'll be down to help you. Have absolutely no fear. And I don't know what help I'll be, but at least I'll be able to stand around and yell a bit louder when your voice goes hoarse. So we'll see what we can do.
Well, so we're putting in place some strategies, Carl, because we've got a lot of people saying, "Oh, what can we do?" So we're coming up with the strategies, and once we get a minute to put our heads up for a second and take a breath after all of Canberra, then we get home. Then we'll be putting those strategies up for people to do, and we need people to take action, and we need to give them what action to take, because we've seen some pretty big protests around the country over the last 5 years, but we're still getting our head handed to us on a plate. So we've got to do things a bit differently. And there's a lot of good people who are out, and they're putting in their heart and soul into fighting this stuff, which I'm very, very grateful. And I say a massive thank you to them for trying their best. But let's get...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. 100% right. I'm just thinking, when I was driving home today, there was a ute that I took a photo of, but I've just had a look at it. I was going to send it through and put it up very quickly because it's in line with what you were saying, but it's an absolutely shit photo taken one-handed driving out the window. No, it wasn't. It was just sitting on the phone holder, and I said, Siri, take a photo. Okay. Glad I figured that out. Hey, thank you very much, Wade, and look forward to talking to you more. Your lives, currently have been morning, afternoon, and evening. So do you have more planned for people to tune in over the next day or two?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, we've got to keep punching out the information. We'll be doing an interview tomorrow morning. We'll be doing more lives tomorrow, because this is so serious. It's so huge, and this is our life. We every waking minute, and even the ones when you're asleep, for the little tiny bit that you get. Myself, Nick, Bell, we're living this fight, we're living this nightmare, and we're doing everything we possibly can. So when I sort of said, about donations and that, we desperately need as much donations as we can, and I'm so grateful to the people that have chucked in some dough for us to help. But we certainly need to get more, because if we had more, we'd have more capacity, and we need capacity. So if you've got some funding, or you can get a whole heap of people to just put in heaps of people, then you can do a hell of a lot more. People who appreciate our work, and I'm so grateful for their terrific and beautiful words.
Me too.
And that's great, but we need to be able to fund it as well. And otherwise, it's I think we're cactus.
Yeah. And just on that, you saw at the head of the show, I had an experience today at the ginger factory up on the Sunshine Coast, where somebody out of the blue recognised me, come up and said hi. Have you got used to that yet?
No. It is odd. Very, very odd, because as you know, Carl, I'm only a bloke from the bush, mate. I'm just a farmer. I'm at home on the farm, in the bush, on the land. That's me. I'm really a quiet, shy, reserved kind of bloke. But I like to think that we operate with the spirit of the Anzacs, and when our families are threatened, and when your families and our Australian family, our Australian society and community, when our country is threatened, we have to respond, and And I'm no rocket scientist, and I don't go to university. I haven't got any degrees like what's her name? Gillo. Yeah, I haven't got any of that sort of crap. But honestly, if a lot of the people I've seen who have that crap, then they're no good, and I don't want it. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter
mate,
of
thank you for everything. Thank you for everything that you do.
And you too, mate. And you too.
It's all right. We'll keep kicking as long as we're breathing. And
Absolutely.
Blokes like Gil might hope that sooner rather than later that we end breathing. But trust me.
Well, can I just say, if the sort of things that I suspect Gillo would support, my opinion is nobody's going to be breathing for much longer. So, I'm not saying that he's involved in that, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, that sort of stuff, the things that they're pushing, the academics that just help them and try and put people like you and me down, then I dare say, we're not going to last for much longer, and that goes for the entire Australian population, including the people that have been to university, because as we know in history, quite often the lefties or the commos or whatever who bring in the tyrants and give them everything they want are quite often, once they take control, the first one they kill.
That's right. There's maybe some hope in the future for us all after all. We'll see what happens. Mate, love your work. Thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, Carl. See you later, and thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Wade from Billboard Battalion. Go and check him out on Facebook and all the other socials, and please support his lives when he gets on. They're not necessarily a set time, but if you happen to have it, and Facebook hasn't screwed up your algorithm yet, you'll get to see the feed, and jump on. Let it be known that you're there, and give him a bit of support. Speaking of support, thank you everybody tonight. If that is Dr. Gill, I'm not completely sure that it is. Some of the language used by Dr. Gill early in the conversation led me to think just a troll. But I don't know, it might be. So Dr. Gill, Carl at vofhq.com is my email address. Love to hear from you. And if you put your phone number in there, I will ring you. We can have a conversation, civil one, I trust. And I mean this not facetiously. I'm very genuine. This is a conversation I would dearly like to have, although, as I said earlier in the show, I do suspect it's a conversation that ultimately will go nowhere, because I don't believe you have an argument that can convince me that I'm wrong on various subjects, and we would go subject by subject. And vice versa. I don't think, even if I presented you, and I threw a logic lock argument into the email. So if you are indeed Dr. Gill, you could confirm that by putting something in the chat right now that refers to that logic lock that I asked you about to do with flying. Does that mean anything to you? If that means something to you, you'll be able to put something. You don't have to put your answer, but you can just put something in there that will make me know that you know that I know that that's what you're talking about. And let's see whether or not you can do that. Failing that, Dr. Gill, I would be very interested in a conversation from that side of the fence to this. I would hope that there is a point where we can meet and agree to disagree without there being threats of extremism or mini terrorism or light terrorism, or what was it called? Stoic bloody terrorism. It's this isn't about terrorism. This isn't about blowing buildings up or hanging people. I was criticized for talking about terrorism, for talking about hanging or shooting people, firing squads. Now, I have never advocated that anybody who is suspected of treason should be put against a wall and shot, or have a rope put around their neck and have them hung till they're dead. I have mentioned that that is the punishment if you are found guilty of treason, and it seems reasonable enough a punishment to me. You may have a different opinion. I would like to know if you have a different opinion. And if you have a different opinion, then love you to come and share it. I'm just having a bit of a scan to see whether or not, no, and you haven't answered my question about flying. So I doubt, Gill, that you are indeed the Dr. Gill. The Dr. Gill, if he is actually watching and is in Canberra, might like to take a drive past Parliament House while Wade is doing one of his lives there tomorrow. He'll be pretty easy to see. He's the only bloke there. Of course, his shirt is about the same colour as the grass he's standing on, so keep an eye out. But pop over, say hello. I don't think there was any violent rhetoric there from him. He'd be welcoming and meeting you, and I'm sure the conversation would be interesting. I only hope that he remembers to turn his phone on and record it, because I'm sure you will be. All right. Thanks, folks. Just want to say once again today, what a wonderful day it was, apart from the drive up there. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to catch up with one of the people I planned to spend a bit of time with, but it was so great to be able to catch up with Sunflower and her husband, Rick, and then Nolan and Eleanor once we were on the way out. So real surprise and just quite lovely. So look forward to seeing more of you folks out and about, and don't ever feel shy about walking up and saying, are you Carl? There are not too many blokes that look like me or sound like me, and you're probably likely to hear me before you see me, funnily enough, particularly if we're in a pub or a bar somewhere, or even in a coffee shop. So whatever you do, if you are going to be around the area and we do happen to bump into each other, don't be like the guy driving the glass-carrying truck today that I think probably ran up the arse of a semi-trailer at 100+ kilometres an hour, and his entire load of glass spread itself across the northbound lanes of the M1. I discovered the blockage about 25 kilometres from it in the roundabout way that I got to bypass it. But it was an interesting day. And I do hope that the driver of that was safe. Dr. Gill, invitations here. If you'd ever like to come on the show, carl@vofhq.com. Please take up the invitation, or go with Wade if you like. I don't mind. As long as you come and talk. That's probably the biggest message we would like to get to you. Come and talk. And if there is a seat at your symposium that I could come and attend, I would be very interested in the appraisals being given regarding extremist terrorism and our local perspective on it. And I would be open to a dialogue. I don't think anybody on their side here wants to hear it. You know, do you really want to hear what we have to say? Because a lot of what we have to say you'll just dismiss because of cognitive dissonance and programming. You don't even research what we say. You dismiss it out of hand. And it makes it very difficult to have a conversation that's beneficial. It turns into an argument or a back and forth, which is pointless. So if you are one of these people that is pretty well set in your ways and you're never going to believe me, and you think I'm never going to believe you, or you won't have an argument that you can convince me, and you may, but I'm open to the possibility is what I'm saying, but I don't think you are. And therefore, I wonder, what's the point of having the conversation? I may as well just go out and play with the dickheads on the road. See you, folks. Have a good night.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!